Places. So here we are in our second holiday movie review with Trading Places, the comedy classic starring Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, and Jamie Lee Curtis. Not exactly a Christmas movie per se, but it's set at Christmas, and there's definitely,
sort of Christmas background stuff and things like that.
Exactly. I think it qualifies as a Christmas movie. So, Nate, just go ahead and tell me with your history with this one. I mean, it's classic. Most people have seen it, but what about you? When did you first see it?
I saw it maybe when I was like 16 years old, I think, 15 or 16, and only once. So I really did not remember this movie very well at all. So this was pretty fresh for me. What about you?
I watched this movie at a pretty young age. See, I have older siblings, so it's one of those things. They'd watch a movie and I'd watch it with them. It probably wasn't age appropriate for me, but it was for them, and I just tagged along.
Right.
So I watched this at a young age, and I watched this with friends growing up too. This is a movie that I come back to. It's one of my favorites of the 80s. It's one of my favorite Eddie Murphy performances, and hands down my favorite Dan Aykroyd performance.
Yeah, just going into this with fresh eyes, it really is very R-rated. It's very adult. We're doing another R-rated holiday movie. So we'll get into the kids stuff a little bit later. But I mean, let's start with Eddie Murphy's performance, because I also think that this is one of his best performances. I think Eddie Murphy makes this movie. He is so funny. Every little thing he does in this movie makes me laugh.
Oh yeah, top to bottom in every scene. Like, one of my favorite scenes is when he first gets to the house and he's stealing stuff. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite parts. And I think he and Dan Aykroyd, they play really well off each other, especially with these characters. Just how how big of a contrast it is between the two of them, and just how it kind of flips at the end, where they kind of see more eye to eye, and they're they see some commonalities between the two of them.
Yeah, and I like Dan Aykroyd in this as well. I would say Eddie Murphy's more of a standout than Dan Aykroyd in it. But yeah, what the strength of this movie really is, since it's called Trading Places, but I love that it's two fish out of water stories happening simultaneously. And I think that's just really interesting, really fun, and both characters handling these situations in the most hilarious ways possible. And this is directed by John Landis, and it's kind of written all over it, in my opinion, just his style of directing. So what do you think of the directing, the pacing?
I love John Landis's movies. I mean, you just name any one of them. Animal House, American Werewolf in London, what was the other one he did with Eddie Murphy? Coming to America.
Yeah, Coming to America.
That's a great one too.
Fun, yeah. And
I think that he keeps the story going with keeping the comedy in there. Now, there are moments where I feel like they're going for a little bit of drama, and that's kind of undercut with comedy. But I don't mind that, because this is a comedy. If it was a dramedy, then those moments I would have liked them to be a little bit more heavier. But no, I like that the comedy is always constant throughout, and I think that it really keeps the plot going. I mean, most times with a comedy, you don't get like a real plot, like a narrative. It just kind of facilitates the movie and the scenes. But with this one, there really is a plot, and you're kind of wondering what's going to happen next, like how deep into depravity is Dan Aykroyd going to go, and how high is Eddie Murphy going to ascend? Yeah. So it keeps you going. I like the pacing of this movie.
Yeah, I think the pacing, it's not that I don't agree. I know that it is a comedy and you have to facilitate the plot for the comedy for it to be funny, but the pacing was just a little bit off for me. Especially I wanted to see these two fish out of water stories a little bit longer. I think even though I do love the train scene, I think it's a fantastic, hilarious scene, through and through. I wish they start working together, and then also the ending with the stock market and everything. The stock market's not very exciting to me, so the ending payoff didn't really pay off that much to me. It sort of was just okay, they're all yelling at each other and they won. Okay, cool. The ending's a little lackluster to me. I love when they're, Eddie Murphy is starting to, climb the ladder in the company and everything, and Dan Aykroyd's obviously just going, into the gutter and everything. Those are my favorite moments of this movie, and I wish they just would have lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about the end. Stock market thing. I had to look it up after I watched it. I've seen this movie at least 8-9 times. I still don't understand how they made the money and made them rich. I read an explanation of it, but it's all, stock market jargon that I don't understand.
They actually coined a phrase from this movie, the Eddie Murphy rule, because of, the little flip that they did in this movie that I don't understand.
Right. It's oh no, we can't have people really doing that. So yeah, it was some scam that it's just at the end. I mean, they just go, we're rich now, they're poor. That's it.
Right, and that's sort of where the flaw for me is that I don't expect this movie to have a big lesson or anything at the end, because it's a funny R-rated movie or whatever. But I just think they could have taken it in a different direction, instead of it just being when you're rich you're happy, when you're poor you're not. That's pretty much, no one learns anything.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they do kind of play on the whole, the poorer you are, the lower you are, and the richer you are, the higher you are. So
Yeah.
it does. If that's the message, it's kind of a twisted message to send to people.
Exactly. But once again, this being a comedy movie, the comedy is what you see this movie for, and there is so much of it that it's so worth watching this movie. I really enjoyed my time with it. If this was ever made today, it would be completely not allowed. There is so much racial and just not okay things in this movie to these standards. But in the 80s, it was a little bit more lenient, and obviously this is an R rating. This is after the R rating was invented, so it was okay type of thing. But even for Dan Aykroyd to paint his face brown and all that. I was watching that, I was like, oh,
yeah,
man,
I would say the
the
blackface, even for 1983, is still pretty inappropriate.
Right.
But I can't retroactively, begrudge a movie for crossing racial boundaries that just wouldn't be acceptable today. It was of the time, so I can still let that go and find the comedy in it. But yeah, when that part when he pops on the train, blackface, I'm like, I forgot about this. Is going to be a rough part.
Yeah, a little cringeworthy, but still hilarious through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Buffs.
All right, Nate, so we gave our thoughts on Trading Places. You walked into this with fresh eyes, so why don't you go ahead and give me your score?
Yeah, sure. I think that I really enjoyed Trading Places quite a bit. I thought it was really hilarious. The pacing does suffer for me a little bit here and there, but I do recommend this movie. I don't know if I'll watch it every Christmas season. I don't think it's going to be one of those. It might be one of those where I'm just like, I'll throw it on if I got, clean the house or something like that. But I don't think I'll watch it every Christmas season. But I did like it. So on the quality scale, I'm going 7.5 out of 10. I do like Trading Places. On the holiday feel-good scale, I'm going to go a 1. There's no holiday feel-good. There's no lesson to be learned from this movie. And the Christmas, even though it's set around Christmas, it pretty much stays in the background.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite comedies that I've been continually watching growing up just throughout the years. So on the quality scale, I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go an 8.5 out of 10. Okay. And I'll go right there with you on the feel-good scale. It's a 1. I mean, if there's a lesson from this movie, it's that if you're rich, you're happy. If you're poor, you're not. That's kind of morbid. Kind of the opposite of Christmas, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I can't say it's one of those feel-good, let's gather the family around the TV. Don't worry, we'll bring reviews of those movies soon. But yeah, this one's, just a good laugh. And, especially if you're a fan of Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd and, you just love the chemistry between the two of them. John Landis even.
Yeah, grab some beers, watch it with some friends.
Yeah.
Buffs. So that's a review for Trading Places. What do you think of the movie? What do you think of Eddie Murphy or Dan Aykroyd? Leave all your comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the support.
Yeah, and join us next week. We are going to be bringing you a family Christmas movie in Home Alone 2. We reviewed the first one last year. We're going to review the sequel this year. And hopefully avoid the third one next year.
We will.
But anyway, we'll bring you that review next week. So until then, don't forget,
there's no place like the theater.